Hi all, I want to go ahead and get started with today's independent practice. For the front side of simplifying polynomials, you had number 2, number 4, number 7, and number 9. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just go down to number 9 for a second because I want to talk about something on that one. With number 9, when you have something like x squared, remember that x squared comes from x times x. Okay, so if I had x cubed, that would be the same thing as x times x times x. Well, what if I had parentheses cubed? That would be the same thing as parentheses times parentheses times parentheses. And whatever happens to be inside those parentheses would remain there. Okay, so when you're looking at number 9, where you have 2c plus 5d inside parentheses cubed, that is just writing it out 3 times. Okay, we have 3 copies of that exact same thing. Now, with that being said, though, you are going to distribute 2c times 2c, 2c times 5d, 5d times 2c, and 5d times 5d. At that point, you will have a larger, well, you're going to have a trinomial when you simplify it. You're going to take that trinomial and you're going to multiply it times 2c plus 5d using distribution a third time. Similar to what we did on problem number 8. Okay? All right, I'm going to go to the back side of this worksheet. And I'm going to be working on number 10, which is similar to number 11. So follow along with this one, and then you should be okay to go on and work on number 11 so that you can try that. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first term of the first trinomial, and I'm going to distribute it to everything in the second trinomial. Okay, so I've got 3m squared times 2m squared, which gives me 6m to the 4th, because we add the exponents when we're multiplying, and at this point we're multiplying. 3m squared times 5m, that will give me positive 15m cubed, or m to the 3rd power. 3m squared times negative 9 gives me negative 27m squared. Okay. Good thing is, if you're doing this in pencil, you can then erase these and focus on what you're doing next. Okay, but that's why using pencil is so helpful, because now we would do negative 4m times 2m squared, negative 4m times 5m, and negative 4m times negative 9. So first off, negative 4m times 2m squared would give me negative 8m to the 3rd power. Negative 4m times positive 5m gives me negative 20m squared. And negative 4m times negative 39 gives me positive 36. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and erase these lines. Go back to what I was doing. I have positive 1 times 2m squared, positive 1 times every term in that second trinomial. So I've got positive 2m squared, positive 5m, and negative 9. Once I've got everything, all my terms listed, okay, now I can go through and look for what I can combine. So I have 6m to the 4th. That's the only one that's to the 4th power. So I've got 6m to the 4th as my leading term. Then I go back and look for anything that is cubed. So 15m cubed, negative 8m cubed. So those two combined would give me positive 7m cubed. Okay, now we're adding and subtracting so that variable term stays the same. Okay, then I've got to look for the m squareds. Negative 27m squared, negative 20m squared, and positive 2m squared. So negative 27 and negative 20 gives me negative 47. Plus 2 would give me negative 45. M squared is the variable term. Looking for just the m's at this case, I've got positive 5m. So that's positive 5m. And then my constants are 36 minus 9. So that gives me positive 27. Okay? All right, so that polynomial, it is the highest degree is the 4th degree, so that makes it quartic. Okay? All right, going on to number 13. I'm going to come back to number 12 for anybody who missed that in class or if we didn't get to it. But I want to go on to number 13. Okay? All right, on number 13, okay, we're looking to see if there is anything that we can divide these by. So it says divide each term in the numerator by the monomial in the denominator. Write your answers in standard form and rewrite all terms with negative exponents. So we're going to rewrite them so that no negative exponent exists if there is one in our answer. So number 13, looking at 9m cubed and 3m in the denominator. So looking at these two, and as well looking at negative 24, I'm trying to see if the numerators can be divided by that 3m in the denominator. So 9m cubed divided by 3m. Well, 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. M cubed divided by m leaves me with m squared. Okay. Negative 24 divided by 3 leaves me with negative 8. M squared divided by m leaves me with m. Okay. Now remember, that's because we're subtracting the exponents. So another way to look at this might have been 9m cubed divided by 3m minus 24m squared divided by 3m. Still, another way to look at that would have been 9m times m times m over 3m minus 24m times m over 3m. Looking at it this last way that I just wrote might help because 9 divided by 3, that reduces to 3. The m's cancel out, and then I'm left with m times m, which is m squared. Okay. Then we've got minus 24 divided by 3 is 8. All right, when those reduce, and m divided by m cancels out or reduces to 1, and then I've got an m left over. Okay. So this answer matches this answer. Two different ways to look at it. Okay. All right, so let's go look at number 16. All right. So this one does look a little tricky. So I am going to do this one in expanded form. A lot of you could look at it and just say, how can these two be reduced? Okay, if you've got that, you're good. Go ahead. But I'm going to go ahead and write it out in extremely expanded form so that it helps some of us with like the processing of what's actually happening. Okay, so every term is going to be written over 12c squared and d. Trying try to erase some of this so it looks like it's 3 different fractions here. Okay, so if we have these 3 fractions, they all still have that same common denominator. Okay, this first one is 30 c to the 8th power. That means there's 8 c's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 3 d's. 1, 2, 3. All over 12, and there's 2 c's and 1 d. Okay. Now, when I'm looking at this to see what can cancel out, they can't really cancel, but they can reduce. 30 and 12, that can be reduced to 5 over 2. Okay. And these c's will reduce. These c's will reduce. These d's will reduce. So what I'm left with in the numerator is c to the 6th power and d squared. Okay. All right. Now looking at that second one, sorry about that. Looking at that second one, negative 36. So I have negative 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 c's. Nope, 6 c's and 2 d's. All over 12. And I have 2 c's and a d. Okay. So we've got a negative 36 divided by 12. Okay, they can both be divided by 6. So I've got 6 over 2. And actually on this one, they can both be divided by 12, correct? So 36 divided by, sorry, I'm trying to pick up a different color here. 36 divided by 12 gives me negative 3 over 1, because 12 divided by 12 is 1. These c's cancel out, so I've got c to the 4th power left over. These d's cancel out, and d to the 1st power. Then we've got plus, and we've got 6 c 3 times with the d over 12 c times d. Then 6 divided by 12, they're both divisible by 6. So I have 1 over 2. These c's reduce, these c's reduce, and that d does. So I have 1c over 2. Okay. That is one way of doing this problem. I know it's lengthy, but if that kind of helps you to process. Now I'm going to erase this and go back and show you the shortcut. Okay, so if you just did that long way with me, go back and take out a blank sheet of paper. I am going to leave this answer here because I have a feeling one thing might come out different. Okay, just one piece of it. And then we'll talk about why it looks different. So I want to leave this answer here. So let's go ahead and erase that. Now, using our properties of exponents, okay? So let me even erase all this stuff. So we're looking at it. Using our properties of exponents, just reducing this fraction, okay? What number goes into 30, negative 36, 6, and 12? What can they all be reduced by? Well, they can all be reduced by 6. Okay, 30 divided by 6 is 5. Negative 36 divided by 6 is negative 6. 6 divided by 6 is positive 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Okay? All right, so we've just gone ahead and reduced all of our coefficients. Now, looking at the exponents, c to the 8th divided by c squared. Remember, when we're dividing, we subtract them. So c to the 8th minus c squared gives me c to the 6th power. Okay. Then I've got d to the 3rd power minus d to the 1st power. That's going to leave me with d squared. Okay. All right. Now, doing the same thing with that middle term. C to the 6th minus c squared leaves me with c to the 4th power. D squared divided by d will leave us to d to the 1st power. All right, then we've got 3c divided by, I'm sorry, c cubed divided by c squared leaves me with c. D divided by d leaves me with, there's no d variable left. So I've got 5cd squared minus 5c to the 6th d squared minus 6c to the 4th times d plus 1c, all divided by 2. Now, looking at the answer that we had before, this here is the same thing as this. 1c is the same thing as this. This is the part that I would say is different. I'm going to pick up a different color highlighter. And the reason that they're different is because if we were looking at this individually, negative 6 divided by 2 could still be reduced to negative 3 over 1. Okay, so if we reduced it that one last step, then we could see how they would still be equal. So they are still equivalent. It's just if we wanted to keep them with the common denominator would be 2. Okay. All right, so let's go on and do the last one together, which is number 17. Okay. All right, using our properties of exponents. I know that so far I've got a fraction, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that fraction for right this second. Okay. All right, 30 divided by 3 gives me 10. X cubed divided by x squared leaves me with x. Okay, there's nothing left in the denominator for that one. This next one, negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. X squared divided by x squared, that reduces to 1, so there's no variables left. And then 9x divided by 3. 9 divided by 3 is positive 3. Okay. And then x squared, or x divided by x squared would leave me x to the negative 1. Well, we cannot have a negative exponent. Okay, so this part here needs to move down to the denominator because we have to eliminate that negative exponent. So our final answer on this one would be 10x minus 4 all over 3x. Okay. All right, if you have any questions, please send me a remind. Otherwise, I will see you all in class tomorrow. I am going to continue this video because I want to go back and do problem number 12, but some of you seen that in class today, so you are good to go. Okay. All right, problem number 12. We are talking about the area of a trapezoid. Okay. So to find the area of a trapezoid, we would first need to know the formula for a trapezoid. Okay? And a trapezoid formula is going to be A equals 1/2 times the base 1 plus base 2 plus the height, or times the height. Okay. So on this one, I am going to look for 1/2 times, okay, well, they're telling us the height first. So the height is being multiplied at the end. It is okay if I move that height to the beginning, so that if I said the area is equal to 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Same equation, I've just put the height in the beginning. So the height of the trapezoid is expressed as 2x plus 9, while the bases, well, notice the bases are being added together in their own group. So I'm going to go ahead and use a bracket. The bases, the first base, or base 1, is 3x minus 7. And it's being added to base 2, and base 2 is x plus 5. Okay? All right, let's simplify what's being added inside the parentheses first, or inside the brackets first. Okay? So, sorry, I'm just trying to white some more of this out so I have more room to write. So give me just a second here. Okay, so if I add those two together first, I have 1/2 times 2x plus 9. Okay, and then in here we have 3x plus x, so that gives me 4x. And then negative 7 plus 5 gives me negative 2. Okay. I'm going to leave the fraction for last. That's just going to help me keep that I don't have any fractions inside of what I'm multiplying first, because it's easier to divide by 2 later than it is to multiply by 1/2 at the beginning and risk getting decimals or fractions. Okay. So now using distribution, we're going to go ahead and take 2x times 4x. So I have 1/2. 8x squared. 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x. 9 times 4x is positive 36. And 9 times negative 4 is negative 18. Okay, I'm going to stop here and leave it up to you guys. You're going to go ahead and combine these two. And then once you simplify what's inside the group, then multiply everything by 1/2. Or divide everything by 2. Either way, that's the same process. All right? All right, you guys have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.